I bet you didn't know the full extent of WW2's human cost. It's beyond heartbreak. The sheer scale of the devastation is almost incomprehensible, and the stories of those who lived through it are both harrowing and deeply moving. Over 70 million lives were lost in Wu, making it the deadliest conflict in history. This staggering number includes soldiers from all sides, civilians caught in the crossfire, and countless others who perished due to the war's far-reaching consequences. And it wasn't just soldiers. Civilians paid a heavy price too. Entire cities were reduced to rubble and families were torn apart. The war's impact on civilian populations was catastrophic, with millions losing their homes, their loved ones, and their sense of security. So the Holocaust alone saw the systematic murder of 6 million Jews, a genocide that remains one of the darkest chapters in human history. The brutality and inhumanity of the Holocaust are almost beyond comprehension, with entire communities wiped out in a matter of months, along with millions of Romani people, disabled individuals, and political prisoners. These groups were targeted for extermination simply because of who they were, and their suffering is a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked hatred and bigotry. But the horror didn't stop there. The war's aftermath left a world in ruins, with countless lives shattered and communities struggling to rebuild. The psychological scars of the war would linger for generations, affecting not just those who lived through it, but their descendants as well. The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki killed over 200,000 people instantly, all from radiation. These bombings marked a new and terrifying chapter in warfare, demonstrating the devastating power of nuclear weapons and the immense human suffering they can cause. The impact was felt for generations. Survivors of the bombings, known as hibakusha, faced long-term health issues and social stigma, and their stories serve as a powerful reminder of the need for peace and disarmament. Millions of children became orphans, their lives forever altered by the war. These children faced unimaginable hardships, often growing up in refugee camps or orphanages, and many were forced to fend for themselves in a world that had been turned upside down. Many forced into orphanages or left to survive on their own. The loss of parents and the trauma of war left deep emotional scars, and many of these children struggled to find a sense of normalcy in the post-war world. Imagine a world where 20 million people were forced into labor under horrific conditions by the Nazis. These forced laborers were subjected to brutal treatment, with many dying from exhaustion, malnutrition, and abuse. Their contributions to the war effort were often overlooked, but their suffering was immense. Civilians were often targeted, their lives disrupted by the relentless violence of the war, with strategic bombings flattening entire cities. These bombings not only caused massive loss of life, but also left lasting scars on the urban landscape, with many cities struggling to rebuild in the aftermath. The Battle of Stalingrad alone led to over 2 million deaths. This brutal conflict was one of the deadliest battles in history, with both sides suffering immense casualties and the city itself being almost completely destroyed. In India, the Bengal famine of 1943, worsened by British colonial policies, caused the deaths of 3 million people. This tragedy highlights the far-reaching impact of the war, with even those far from the front lines suffering from its consequences. By the end of the war, over 60 million were displaced, many never returning home. These displaced persons faced immense challenges, from finding shelter and food to rebuilding their lives in new and unfamiliar places. Inhuman experiments were conducted on prisoners by Nazi and Japanese forces, adding to the untold suffering. These experiments were often carried out without consent and involved horrific procedures, leaving many victims with lifelong physical and psychological scars, adding to the untold suffering. The war crimes committed during WW2 are a stark reminder of the depths of human cruelty and the importance of holding those responsible accountable. These facts remind us that the human cost of WW2 was immense. Never forget, the lessons of WW2 are as relevant today as ever, reminding us of the need for vigilance, compassion, and a commitment to peace.